India is often called as pharmacy of the world, right? Because of its dominance in the generic market, right?
I think India will remain its dominance for these factors, its regulatory environment that is more conducive than in the United States, and the reputation of producing high value, low cost drugs, particularly generic.
Why do you think US pharma companies struggle to make their mark in this space?
They traditionally focus on developing novel drugs, and particularly patent drugs, and drugs that have a higher margin than generic. Mark Cuban, who's a famous guy in the United States, has a new pharmacy approach called cost plus, which is the cost of making the drug plus 15%, and that will be much less expensive. He's focusing on generic. But I think where India has really excelled is high quality, so very high quality drugs that pass every level of inspection, and being able to make those rapidly and at low cost. And so I don't see in the new coming 5 or 10 years that I think India will remain its dominance for these factors, its regulatory environment that is more conducive than in the United States.
Hello everyone. Welcome in the another podcast of Game of Pharma. And today we have with us a very special guest, Dr. Marschall Runge. He is a distinguished physician scientist, a leader in academic medicine, and a advocate for integration of advanced technology into the healthcare system. Currently, he is serving as a dean of the medical school at the University of Michigan, and he was also board of directors at the Eli Lilly. Welcome on the show, Marshall.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
So I think in our introductory call, we have discussed a lot of points, right? Where on what we can talk, right? And I think you wrote this book that the great healthcare disruption, right? It's
Yes.
also like I think there also you have mentioned a lot of topics about like how healthcare is changing and evolving with the years, right? So, but I think the main thing, like you are from the US and I'm from the India, right? And most of the times, like people discuss about the Indian pharma and the US pharma, like what are the key differences, like how the things are evolving in each of the demographics, right? Right? It's a very rapid pace scenario for the pharma and the healthcare, right? So I just want to start this conversation with India is often called as pharmacy of the world, right? Because of its dominance in the generic market, right? So, like, my question is, why do you think US pharma companies struggles to make their mark in this space?
Well, I think there are lots of reasons. Part of it is the business model of US pharma companies, which they've traditionally focused on developing novel drugs, and particularly patent drugs, and drugs that have a higher margin than generics. And so they're generally not set up to be able to compete on a cost standpoint. There are a few. Mark Cuban, who's a famous guy in the United States, has a new pharmacy approach called cost plus, which is the cost uh, of making the drug plus 15%, and that will be much less expensive. He's focusing on generics, but I think where India has really excelled is high quality, so very high quality drugs that pass every level of inspection, and being able to make those rapidly and at low cost. And so I don't see in the new coming 5 or 10 years that I think India will remain its dominance for these factors, its regulatory environment that is more conducive than in the United States, and the reputation of producing high value, low cost drugs, particularly generics.
When we were discussing, right, last time in our introductory call, you have mentioned such a great points related with like how the things are different comparatively for the affordable generics to the innovation driven, right? These both are the different mindset, right? Where India is known for its affordable generics, where US is more, I think, innovation driven, right? So, do
Yes.
you see these two approaches ever meeting halfway? Because right, because each and every country has their own strengths, right, relative to the pharma.
Well, I do in a couple of different areas. So one area that India has not, and other generic drug companies have not really focused on is what are called biosimilar drugs. So the drugs that have the most innovative profile and the highest cost in the United States are biologics. So these are injectable drugs in general. And that's not been a focus of India, but in the areas where Indian companies have made biosimilars, they've been high quality. So I see those coming together. I think also um, it's inevitable that at some point, given their uh, really significant ability to make drugs, that there'll be more innovation in India. I know that Eli Lilly, when I was on their board, did a lot of work with India. Some of it was around computational and uh, high tech, but some of it was around directly production of new medications or components of new medications. So I think these things will get closer and closer over time. And I also think another big advantage that India has is not being so subject to what I'll call middlemen. So in the United States, the biggest and most onerous middlemen are called pharmacy benefit managers, and they add very little value, but they add a lot of cost.
Yeah.
And for most of the generics that are obtained from India, we don't have that dynamic. I know I until recently was CEO of our Michigan Medicine Health System, which is a large health system. It's about a $9.5 billion health system. And when we could, we always tried to contract directly with providers rather than through the pharmaceutical networks that are present in the United States. So I think that's as I said, that's a big cost, not a lot of value to it. And I think if India can stay away from that, that will be a very big competitive advantage.
Right, right. And I think some way, halfway, right, with that innovation and the cost can meet, right? And yeah, I think everyone is trying to just serve their nations, right? With the same thought, they are evolving, right? But I think what I think, uh, doctor, that beyond cost, right? d- there is something, a lot of factors comes, right, whenever companies enter into the market like US or India, right? So I just want to know that beyond cost, what are the biggest barriers that are stopping US companies from building a stronger presence in India's generic market?
Well, I think also there's brand recognition. So India has some terrific brand recognition that is actually recognized in the United States. For example, Dr. Reddy's laboratory is
Right.
very well known. Sun Pharmaceutical Industries, well known. There are others, and they have a presence in the United States, but they have a huge presence in India. Whereas I think for the U.S. drug makers, they don't have that kind of brand presence, and a big part of that is cost.
But I think in the past years, right, if you see at the past outlook, right, things also changed, right? Like US companies also giving their portfolios to the Indian companies to run, right?
Right,
And
right.
in terms of like as a partnership, right? So do you see like partnership between the US pharma or Indian generic companies as a realistic path forward, right? If it will create a meaningful way, or are there more models is too different, right? How you see this whole picture?
Oh, I think there's a tremendous opportunity for collaboration. Now, it's gotten more complicated with the current political environment in Washington, D.C., because the current president, President Trump, doesn't want, he wants everything to be manufactured in the United States. And I think that has put a limit on a lot of collaborations of U.S. companies around the world. And with the tariffs and all that are occurring, this is it's problematic. But I think if I had a magic wand, later you ask about my magic wand. I don't have one, but if I had a magic wand, it would be to think ahead 3 or 4 years. And um, I think this opportunity for international collaboration is great. And I think it benefits everyone. It benefits the United States, benefits India. Um, And so I think planning for that can be very important. I doubt it. I doubt that um, uh, that the approach that the Indian drug companies use could be easily transformed into occurring in the United States because of a lot of reasons, the cost of resources, wages, etc. Um, at least not today. But I think all those. I just have to believe that in many areas there's, and I think pharmaceuticals is one of those. There's a great opportunity for collaboration, but the leaders of the companies have to be inventive. And I can guarantee you that the US, big pharma in the US is thinking about this. I don't know that they have solutions, but they're thinking about it.
Yeah, I think the recent policy change has impacted a lot of things into the healthcare as well, right?
Yes.
I think and everyone is trying that how best they can do to collaborate with these policies as well. So everyone is figuring out their way. But yeah, I think same disruption, right? That comes into the picture with your as your book also titled, right? The Great Healthcare Disruption. So if you had to explain it to one line, right? To a layperson, right? What is the central disruption you see into the healthcare in nowadays?
Well, I think that um, so I looked at disruption in a positive way, and I think the biggest single factor is technology, and I think it's technology around AI, and obviously India has a very strong presence in AI. It's disruption in terms of the traditional models. So in the United States, it's very difficult to get a primary care physician. It's difficult to find access 24/7. I know there is already collaboration with, in different uh, organizations around call centers and things like that. But that could also certainly be the case around um, healthcare delivery. Now, healthcare delivery gets more complicated. Even in the United States, it's complicated because I have to have a certification. If I want to treat somebody in Chicago, which is about a 4-hour drive, it's a different state. And so unless I have an Illinois medical license, I'm not allowed to do that. And so that, of course, will be a challenge as we go forward. However, I think that um, most of the medical societies are in favor of more collaboration, not against it. So I think that there are real potentials there. And as you know, there's a lot of cross training that goes on. Many really great minds from India come to the United States to train in healthcare. And so I think the building blocks are there. It's just a matter of how do you make that work in today's world. But I think technology is the key. So technology uh, I truly believe that AI is going to transfer how we look at all of life, but particularly in healthcare. And I don't think it's that AI can replace healthcare providers. I think it has to be a partnership uh, because there are things that humans can do that AI just cannot do, at least as we know it today.
I think AI is I think the great healthcare disruption, right? And not only in terms of like clinical care or the R&D, right? In all the way, right? From the commercial point of view, from the data and analytics point of view, from the new digital app integration, right? Digital healthcare
Yes.
apps. Into the normal lifestyle. So I think everywhere it's making the change, and I think in the later on, like the most complex problems that humans are uh, not like getting time to solve, right? Not we don't say capable. The reason being is that because AI is also building by the humans only, but not getting time to solve those problems. I think AI will give them those time, give that time to solve those complex problems as well, and then yeah, as a efficiency marker we can say. So I think same. I think from this AI point of view, I just want to ask you that looking ahead, if we look the future, right? What gives you the most hope about the future of healthcare, and what keeps you most concerned? uh, related with the future of healthcare?
Um, I tell you, I think what gives me the most hope is innovation. And by innovation, I don't just mean new drugs or new approaches. I mean it's the facility to do just what you said, and that is to be more efficient in what we do. So this morning I had talked to a patient who was very well educated, very interested. They had a problem called atrial fibrillation, which is an abnormal heart rhythm. And I keep up on the medical literature, but trying to find it can be a challenge. I went to Gemini, which is one of Google's AI platforms, and I could find everything I needed in about 5 minutes, which previously would have taken me 45 minutes. And that's just one small example of information gathering. But I think information gathering, I also think that another feature of AI is what are called AI assistants. And so already we have AI assistants for healthcare providers, like a medical assistant. I think, and we have AI assistants for students. I think we'll soon have AI assistants for people with health problems, for patients, that can help them in all kinds of ways. Help them understand what the doctor said. It's going to help them be able to schedule appointments, you name it. So I think it's going to, we're entering a new world in terms uh, of our ability to rapidly acquire the information we need and use the information we need. So that's my big positive. Um, my big concern, and I can speak more directly to this about this in the United States, is that healthcare is a big business in the United States. So it's 18 or 19% of the gross national product of the United States, and that's a huge part of the economy. So when you have that part of the economy, entrepreneurs flock to it, and they're trying to harvest this, harvest that, make money here, make money there, have a new company that gets sold. And that is a lot of what has driven up healthcare costs in the United States. And so while entrepreneurship is a good thing, it has dramatically increased the cost of healthcare. In some ways, that's good. In other ways, it's just wasted money. So I think we have to figure out how do we live in this environment and make healthcare less of a business transaction. That is what it is now, and more of what I think to be a service that the is for the common good. So I don't know as much about the healthcare system in India, but in many countries, the healthcare system is considered part of the government. It's like building roads. I mean, what entrepreneur is going to build a road? Or what entrepreneur is going to build a new bridge? Or what entrepreneur is going to make sure that the water's safe and that the electricity is always on? Not many. And I think healthcare kind of falls into the same category. So I'm not saying that it needs to be all government run. I just think that we can establish healthcare in the United States that has a government presence that will help keep costs down and help secure quality.
Totally agree. And with that new thought, let's start a exciting segment of this podcast that is rapid fire. Okay, and you need to answer the questions fast. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, so the first questions will be apart from the your book, The Great Healthcare Disruption, right? Which one book should every healthcare leader read?
Oh, that's a great question. So, um, one book that I was particularly um, uh, interested in is called Super Agers. Now, it is about living long, it's about blue zones, but it has all these concepts we just talked about. So, this is written by Eric Topol, Topol, well-known leader. So, Super Agers, I would read that one.
Great. Okay. Uh, the next one is if you had to describe the US pharma industry in just one word, what would it be?
A hyphenated word, innovation focused.
Great, great. I think it was in your mind, right? It's right. So one technology in healthcare you think people are still underestimating.
I think they're underestimating AI.
Oh, yeah, but people are. It's a buzzword, right? People, everyone
It's a
is.
buzzword,
Yeah,
but people don't realize what it can actually do.
right.
And This isn't part of your rapid fire, but I'll tell you when I was at Eli Lilly, they were able to use AI to develop drugs to attack undruggable targets. And rather than it taking 10 years, it took a month or two. I mean, that is with the power of AI.
One healthcare problem you had solved instantly if you had a magic wand. It's related with your last statement that you have mentioned.
No question, obesity.
Uh,
It's a worldwide problem. If I had a magic wand, I'd say we fix obesity, we improve health by 75 or 80%. Better health, less diabetes, less chronic diseases, less bone and joint diseases, less heart disease. Uh, we got to fix obesity. The United States, half the people in the United States are obese. And I don't know what it is in India now, but uh, 20 years ago, there was virtually no obesity in the Middle East, in the Far East, and now it's a pandemic.
agree. To totally agree with your point. And then with that said, thank you so much, Doctor, for on this podcast. Okay, I think it was a great conversation with you.
Well, thank you, Lakesh. It's yes, that I would love, and I'm going to write another book that's more focused on the rest of the world, not just the United States. But the themes in the United States are very similar. And as I said before, India is a huge market that I would like to uh, get interested in my book.
So thank you so much, Doctor, for being on this podcast.
A real privilege. Thank you.